he almost died trying to save the universe. And Cecil's like,
I don't give a fuck.
Also telling him that if the viltrumites return, he better pull back up to defend Earth with that squad of his. But till then, get the fuck off my planet. And this is where you see Nolan's growth, because right there you could see that he wanted to flash out on that man and rip him limb from limb for talking crazy. And season 1, Omni Man would have done just that. So the season finale of Invincible is now out, and while it wasn't as climactic and action-packed as season's 3 final episode, it was just as impactful. We see the viltrumites standing on a ship staring over Earth. Where they got a ship from, I have no idea. They begin dropping down from the ship and descending upon Earth, flying at Mach speed, causing a tidal wave to form behind them, and they start flying into buildings, cars, people, just wreaking all sorts of havoc on Earth. And remember that wave I was talking about? Yeah, that is now a tsunami and it just floods the entire city. Turns out it was just Mark daydreaming. Honestly, Mark is going through it, and Nolan tells Mark he needs to get some rest because they're days away from reaching Earth, so it's not much they can do about it anyways, and that it isn't necessarily guaranteed that they're actually on Earth. But I'm with Mark here. How can anyone sleep knowing a bloodthirsty group of superpower aliens led by the strongest being known to us so far on the show without the means or ability to stop him? Oh yeah, let's pile on the fact that they just disintegrated their entire planet, including Thragg's barber. No. No! You see that work he put in on that man's hairline? I'd be vindictive too. You can't find a barber that thorough these days. They all charge an arm and a leg. And if he ever f***ed up Thragg's cut, he'd be missing an arm and a leg and his head. Zoe asks what's the plan if they are on Earth, and from the piercing silence in the air, it's apparent that they don't have one. Alan is back on Telescria preparing for his inauguration with his girl, and she's teasing him about his fit. But Alan is having doubts whether or not Thetis made the right call appointing him leader of the coalition. She reassures him that he did, and there's nothing to worry about. He just has to look over a few trillion people on multiple planets and make sure they're safe. Not exactly the right words to take some of the tension off his shoulders. Zoe is trying to get through to Mark and Nolan, but their head is elsewhere, and she's basically talking to herself at this point. And then she offers them to let her use her space station as a headquarters, and if it hits the fan, that she's on point and ready for action. I love the spirit, but you've barely been hanging on, honestly. They need to put you back on the bench and sub you out for Paul.
That's a great idea.
I know Paul is putting belt to ass as soon as one of those viltrumites step foot on Earth. And I like how this whole season there's been an ongoing joke that Paul is being able to kill even Thragg like he isn't just a regular human, but Paul is that nigga. The captain announces that they're 10 minutes away from Earth, and Nolan starts to devise a plan, but Mark ain't trying to hear none of that. Bails out the truck and hits the jet straight towards Earth. He ain't wasting no time. He breaks through the Earth's atmosphere and heads straight towards the city, only to find everyone safe and sound, going on about their day as if nothing is going on, because that's exactly what's happening. There is no sign of any viltrumite activity whatsoever. Somebody made a good point. You looked in one city and you were like, oh, well, the viltrumites aren't here. You do realize there are multiple states that they could be hiding in. They don't necessarily have to be in his city. He heads home to visit his mom and tells her about Oliver and how he's being treated at the moment. And as soon as he turns around, he sees Thragg gripping his mom's neck, and not the way Paul did when they were feeling frisky. He tells Mark that this is payback for what he did, and then tears her head off her body as if he was ripping paper out of a notebook. But turns out Mark was hallucinating again, and Thragg wasn't actually there. This is absolutely losing his shit. He tells her that he's going to visit Eve and that Nolan's outside. We see Nolan floating in the air, and when Debbie steps out to talk to him, she starts going off about leaving Oliver there, but he tries to explain to her that he's in good hands, but she's not having none of that. And then he tells her that Oliver and Mark were brave and he's leaving to go be with him tomorrow after they finish setting up a warning system for Earth. He told her that it broke his heart to see him hurt, and good thing he didn't see him last season, because that boy got juggled off the pavement and turned into silly putty. Debbie says he has to have a heart in order for it to hurt, and gets ready to head back inside, but he uses that Beltrum speed and stands in front of her. I can't even lie, I rewinded this part like 4 times. I get that Nolan did some absolutely fucked up things that he might not even be able to come back from, but at least he's trying. But you know what they say, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Mark pulls up on Eve and we see that she's looking a little different, a lot different actually. That tall glass of milk turned into a gallon of buttermilk ranch. Oh my
my goodness!
She done went from Adam Eve to Atomic Evelyn. But let me not get too insensitive though, because I don't want to get crucified in the comments. Plus, you know what Drake said.
It's just, oh, Lil Wayne's just too good.
What? Nigga, you gay.
You know what Drake said.
I like my girls BBW.
But you don't think he can handle a little extra cushion for the pushing? No. You don't think that he can handle that Eve put on a couple of Adams? Of course he can, because he's... Eve's telling Mark how her powers came back while he was gone, but while she didn't have them, she's been staying at home to help her dad since he broke his back. And I can't even say that I feel bad for him. I hate this muff almost as much as I dislike Oliver. But her doing that, plus the lack of her fighting crime because she put Invincible ink on hold, made her put on a few pounds, and she kind of gets insecure about it. But like I said, Mark doesn't care about that at all, and he tells her that he missed her. Ever since he destroyed the Viltrumites' planets, they have been MIA, and it's kind of been messing with his head since no one knows where they are. Meanwhile, Cecil and Sinclair are working on multi-dimensional travel so they can attempt to get Monster Girl and get what's his face back. But when they turn on the portal, out pops some tentacles and it grabs Sinclair. These niggas opened a portal straight into Tokyo, Japan. Y'all know, cause you know how Japan be messing with the tentacle. Donald shuts off the portal and Cecil decides they wrapping up that multi-dimensional shit. We're back at Telescria and we pretty much see Alan getting bit at by the board of directors because they're panicking that they can't seem to locate the Viltrumites, and they're low-key berating him and saying how every Viltrumite needs to be wiped out from existence and how Thetis was only a Viltrumite by name. And then they get real disrespectful, asking him do they need to remind him of what the Viltrumites did to his people. And right then and there I would have summoned the spirit of
King Bond and reminded them what ass whooping feels like, because it's apparent that it's been a while since they had one.
Let's not forget that you're strong enough to take on a Viltrumite, so don't let these zoo animals get besides themselves and keep disrespecting you. Mark is at school, but while he's walking, he sees Anissa floating around a bunch of college kids dead on the ground, and now she's holding William and then immediately removes his lower jaw from his skull. Mark is losing his mind more and more the longer he's around his loved ones. I'm telling you, Thragg gave that man PTSD. You need to go see a therapist, Mark, ASAP. If I was him, I'd sign up for BetterHelp, which is the sponsor of this video. Viltrumites lurking around the shadows of your mind. Do you keep having hallucinations of all your friends and family being dismembered right before your very eyes? Scared that 6'4" burly Viltrumite leader with the sharpest lineup in the galaxy is coming to destroy your home planet? Well, I can't help you, because they ain't sponsored this video. Gabby was telling Paul how she feels bad because she wasn't able to be there for Oliver while he recovers like she was there for Mark. So he gives her the idea that he should go visit him on another planet. And then they try to slide in that they aren't together anymore. And I'm like, hold up, wait. Wasn't y'all just about to get a house together? Where did I miss this? Y'all shows and these time skips be killing me. I low-key feel like the season was just a tad bit rushed. But hey, I'm just saying, the pacing of this season was just a little inconsistent. Even Mark on the rooftop conversing, and I'm thinking, like, do y'all not have anywhere else to talk? We've seen Eve about 45% of the time of this season, and maybe a little bit more. And 32.7% of that time, we've seen you on this roof. She was getting ready to tell him why she didn't have her powers until Thragg palms her head like it was a Spalding and just kills her instantly. This might have been the most disrespectful hallucination he's had yet. Eve tells him that she had an abortion, and when she told him this, I honestly thought he was going to tweak out. All episode we've been seeing him hallucinating about the people that he loved get eradicated, and then she drops this bomb on him. It's like he doesn't get a break whatsoever, but Mark just supports her and gives her the comfort that she needed. W boyfriend. Nolan is visiting Memory Lane, and when I say Memory Lane, I really mean the crater where he beat the absolute dog shit out of his son a couple of seasons back. It's actually crazy to see their dynamic now and how much that he's developed as the show progressed. Just 3 seasons ago, you were murdering your friends and thousands upon millions of people and dissing your wife, while also beating your son within an inch of his life. Give it up for Father of the Year, y'all. Cecil pulls up while also simultaneously wasting millions of our precious tax dollars confronting Nolan about returning to Earth. He asks if they won the war, and Nolan blatantly lies to his face and said, yeah. Are we gonna gloss over the fact that Thragg beat your ass? He tells him the situation with the Viltrumites, and Cecil's like, how the f is that a win? Nolan tries to also plead his case about how he almost died trying to save the universe, and Cecil's like,
I don't give a fuck.
Also telling him that if the Viltrumites return, he better pull back up to defend Earth with that squad of his. But till then,
Get the fuck off my planet.
And this is where you see Nolan's growth, because right there you could see that he wanted to flash out on that man and rip him limb from limb for talking crazy. In season 1, Omni Man would have done just that. Nolan returns home. Well, I guess I should say Mark's home, because we all know that he ain't returning there yet. Sorry, Paul, you just can't compete with the Omni Man. He's letting them know that he's getting ready to head back to Telestria and visit Oliver, and Debbie's like, yeah, me too. Nolan's confused and then proceeds to ask about Paul. Nolan, rule number 1, never ask about another nigga that she ain't brought up yet. You are Omni Man. Why are you worried about a nigga named Paul? I mean, don't get me wrong, I with Paul. We all know he's the reason why Thragg is still hiding up to this point of the episode. Y'all thought it was Mark and Nolan? No. Did y'all see what he did to those two? Nah, Paul is busy making sure the Earth is protected from all possible threats. Nolan takes off with Debbie, and we see Mark posted up with Cecil while he's asking Mark to be debriefed. And I'm not gonna lie, this scene disappointed me because I thought we were gonna get that whole, guess who I ran into, Cecil? You want me to be debriefed about Thragg? How about I debrief you about how I ran into the TRT Infinity Gauntlet wielding viltrumite that almost has as much as a boner for Merkin as Battle Beast does. Conquest, a motherfucker that you were supposed to properly dispose of, by the way. Let's debrief about how he stuck his whole arm through my abdomen and proceeded to pull out my insides until they were congealed pile of bloody organs. But I guess Mark was too busy having another hallucination about Thragg's arm piercing through Cecil's chest. Alright, Mark, it's getting old. Either go see a therapist or go smoke some bud, cause you starting to piss me off. Conquest did way more damage to you than Thragg, and he's the one giving you PTSD, post-Thragg stress disorder. And I guess Mark heard me because he asked Cecil to let him debrief later because he needed to talk to somebody about what he's going through. Eve tells Mark to go fly around so he can clear his head because she's sick of this nigga tweaking just as much as I am. And while he's out just having a good old time, guess who he ends up running into? Yeah, that's right. The man he's been having these gut-wrenching hallucinations about the whole episode. Man, you should have told Paul to pull up with you. You would have been straight. Thragg turns around and we can see the exact moment when Mark hits his plans. You can almost smell it through the screen, actually. He's hallucinating about the city being in chaos and destruction, and when he opens his eyes, Thragg's like, yeah, nigga, I'm actually here. This ain't no drill. Mark was like, yeah, time to crash. He heads straight towards Thragg and throws probably the hardest punch he possibly could. But that didn't faze him at all, which, I mean, are we surprised? No. So he decides to throw a couple more, and Thragg is just standing there eating these motherfuckers.
Finger licking good.
And then he decides to just farm just a sliver of aura and starts weaving these punches. Thragg is not pressed in the slightest. Weaves his last punch and grabs his head and pushes him back with like 1% of his power. And it might actually have been less than that. And honestly, he just sends Mark flying back. Mark gets ready to strike again until Thragg tells him to stop. Thragg tells Mark to chill because he hasn't done anything to his planet yet. And that if he continues to act irrationally, then that will no longer be the case. Thragg basically gives Mark a proposition that if he lets him live amongst the humans and blends in and repopulate so he can rebuild the Viltrum Empire, that he'll leave them alone and he won't bother them. But if he seeks them out or tries to stop his plans, that's when shit will start to get ugly. And I'm not gonna lie, shit got ugly when Craig decided to pull up on Earth. You ain't been here nothing but a few weeks and he's already pulling the house. And this is over here mad at these two lunatics catcalling her cause it's not Mark. And Lucan's over here mad because he has to host another episode of Family Feud. At first Mark says no, but then eventually he thinks of all the people on Earth including Eve and decides to agree to his terms. Alan receives a video recording telling him about the upgraded Scourge virus, and in case he died, that's the last hope in order to take out the remaining Viltrumite forces. Appreciate y'all staying to the end of the video. Make sure y'all go ahead and comment and subscribe and let me know what y'all want to see next. Appreciate y'all staying for the end. I'll see y'all next time.
Hello to the